Check, check.
Check, check, check.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out OTheAnthem.com. It's where you can find everything O The Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/OTheAnthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/OTheAnthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Cheap.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at O The Anthem on all your social networks. Before we get to that, we have to talk about the ongoing thing that is the 2020 election. Most specifically, the president's reaction to the 2020 election. And this is, I think, the most telling image to come out of this entire election process. And this thing that you see to my side here is a list of Trump tweets. And don't worry, I didn't go to Trump's tweets because I don't want to do that. But I did go to a website where somebody was talking about his tweets and I stole their screenshot. So, but this is what they're doing now. They are just basically saying, he posts a tweet. The first tweet here is, it's actually from a couple weeks ago, but big press conference today in Philadelphia at Four Seasons, total landscaping. Oh, this was
Nothing wrong about that tweet. Flag that one, Twitter.
Meme of the week was somebody who had their yard being done by Four Seasons, and they had like the trailer parked out front, and it was like, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity.
They're taking advantage though. They are putting together T-shirts and stuff like they have a Lawn and Order T-shirt.
Yeah.
Make America Rake Again, I think was one of theirs. Like it's pretty good. They're capital. I always like it when a small business like this can totally capitalize on the situation.
I have not liked. I think we talked about it last year when we went home for Christmas, and a lot of Maryland was like, choose us for your plumbing and choose Trump again in 2020. And I'm like, nope, not using you. But I will take the punny advertisements by the company that got roped into this for no reason, clearly.
Well, it also sounded like the call that was involved in booking it was like, are you guys available for a press conference today? And it's like, yeah, sure, I guess. Like,
I mean, we don't have a conference room. We have the parking lot. We'll take it. It's fine. Is the sign out there? Are we going to be able to see the sign? Yes. Okay, we got it.
Good enough.
George, I just got the weirdest call. The president's coming here? I don't know.
Rudy Giuliani and somebody on the sex offender registry is going to be showing up.
Aren't those the same person?
Hit it,
Manny. Hey. But so what they've done is basically Twitter has censored the president. And I use this as an example just because his first tweet is relatively normal. It's just making a point. And then he follows it up with a bunch of like, the election is fraud and people are voting who shouldn't have voted. And Twitter's just basically like, nope, we're not.
About it like this, like if you say you were going to court for something, right? Like you were wrongly accused for killing your wife, and it was really the one-armed man who did it, right? And you needed to hire a lawyer. and you look around and you can't get any of the top lawyers, so you have to settle for Rudy Giuliani or someone of his ilk, right?
Wait, is he the guy with his hand in his pants in that video?
In the Borat, yes.
No, okay.
So you have to hire a Rudy Giuliani-like lawyer, right? And then you're showing up for court. You're like in your suit. You're ready for the whole thing to start. You're looking around for your lawyer. And then he comes in. He's just like, like, oh, sorry, I'm late. I got pulled over for a DUI, but it's all right. I bribed the cop. And you got to like look at him and you're just like, should you be my legal counsel at this moment? If this is how badly you fuck up on the way to help me, is this something that I want to examine further?
There's a meme thing that I loved when I was practicing law, and it's like, it's still good. It just doesn't, I don't see these on the daily anymore. But it was like, you're going to jail if, and it was like pictures of lawyers where like one guy was wearing house shoes to court. And they're like, if your lawyer shows up with these, you going to jail. So you should just cut a deal. And one of them, the lawyer came in and he was wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt. And then he borrowed somebody's jacket to put on over it and pushed his very long hair out of his face with sunglasses. And they're like, if your lawyer looks like this, you're going to jail. So you need to cut a deal.
I can't even. And the other thing is that like Trump, in part of the preparing for possibly having to have a legal fight upcoming in this election, looked at Jared and was just like, we have the legal team all squared away, right? And Jared's like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah. We got it.
And then he turns around and it's Pam Bondi and Rudy Giuliani. like,
all right, who's still bar approved here? Anybody?
I would imagine that when Trump was like, get me the finest set of election lawyers you can find, like you're thinking that he's going to put together like an OJ style dream team or something like that. Like not Giuliani and Pam Bondi.
What are the odds that Jared put together a really great team, and then they went to meet Trump, and Trump's like, I don't know any of these guys. Who are these guys? And like, this is literally the primo election law team in the country. And he's like, nah, we got to get Rudy in here. Is Rudy still in the building? Pam? Is Pam here? Can we add these? And then all the other lawyers were like, nah, fuck this. And they left. And it's just Rudy and Pam now.
I don't get it.
But obviously, the point of this being, Trump is fighting the results of the election on grounds that, as a former attorney, do not make sense to me. As a political scientist, I have the degree. They don't make sense to me. As a scholar, if you will, of politics, they don't make sense to me. Have you heard anything that, other than the automatic recounts, which the states are like, yeah, we got to redo the vote. We got to count them again. And by the way, how upset's Nevada going to be when they finish in 6 weeks and then they got to redo that same vote next day? Poor people.
We'll have it by the next election. Don't worry.
But
by the way,
the
memes last week of making fun of Nevada were chef's kiss, just beautiful. I loved it. I was enjoying every single one of them.
Well, and I think I told you on near election day, my theory is that the state Secretary of State there was like, all right, we have a chance to be a kingmaker here. We can make every president come to Nevada. So we need to time this out exactly right. Okay, how far are we? 86. All right, we're right on track. Oh, Pennsylvania's caught it. Well, shit. Never mind. All right, just whenever you're ready, give me those ballots. Because it felt like they were trying to build it up to be like, Arizona's going to call, and he needs 6. He's got to get 6 to get to 270, and guess who's got 6, baby? It's right here.
What's amazing to me about the whole thing is that, like, it would be the same way if the election ever came down to California. Like, if it's like all the states were decided except for California because, I don't know, some Republican from California was running for president.
This week on the The Anthem podcast, Warner Brothers. Oh, they have made some decisions that have angered everybody, including Corey. You're going to hear more about that coming up. With latest COVID news, I got a couple of things to say. Mostly, it's just the word stupid. You're all stupid over and over again. In politics, Georgia is just about settled, and that means the election is just about settled to everyone except for Donald Trump. He's now raised $200 million to help him get through the next 4 difficult years. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up on this episode of the O the Anthem podcast, including some sports ball. Like you haven't had enough of that in your life, right? Stay tuned. It's all coming right now.
Go fuck yourself, Eric Garcetti. This is Corey, and this is the O the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob, and we're just lucky Corey made it back to his seat in time. This is episode 348 of the O the Anthem podcast, coming to you from all over Los Angeles, but Los Angeles, California. And, of course, Corey is there at the studio, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way, anchor.fm/O the Anthem. Direct links to all the podcast apps there are. And you just go to anchor.fm/O the Anthem, find the one to the podcaster you listen to, and you're good to go.
Yep. All right, so let's jump right in right now. I know that I was trying to mess with Corey during our pre-show call about how much anybody cares about the Warner Brothers thing. But you got some news from Warner Brothers, right? Is that's basically my understanding?
I mean, I think that if you're talking about Hollywood people, a lot of people are talking about what's going on with Warner Brothers and HBO Max right now.
I live in Hollywood, Corey. I don't know any of these folks who say they are from Hollywood. They're not Hollywood people. They don't live here. I live here.
So you haven't been keeping your ear to the ground on this sort of thing.
I mean, I have, and I think my reaction is the appropriate one, which is, meh.
Okay. Well, from people who are behind the camera, I will say that the reaction is not quite the same, but we'll get into it here. Basically, what Warner Brothers has decided to do is they're going to go day and date with their entire 2021 slate of all the movies they're planning on releasing in 2021 will be available for 1 month on HBO Max on the same day that they'll be available in theaters. And then following that, they will go into like the paid VOD space where like you can rent it from iTunes and stuff like that before it would be DVD, and then eventually back to HBO Max and stuff like that. But a lot of people, especially filmmakers, directors, actors, and people who finance these movies are not too happy with the decision of Warner Brothers here to put all these movies on HBO Max and sort of limit its ability to make money in the theaters, because a lot of these people get back end on that. And it's very important for a lot of them.
This is where I found out that Corey was a socialist, that he is not about capitalism and making as much money for the people who own the thing as possible, but he's about spreading the wealth to all of the people. That's the thing I learned. And you know, more power to you. I'm glad to hear, Corey, that you've become a socialist.
It's not that so much. It's just that, like, so for instance, one of the movies that's going to be released on HBO Max is In the Heights, which is the Lin-Manuel Miranda play, the one that happened right before Hamilton. And John Chu is directed that one. And John Chu had the opportunity to make a movie with Netflix, but he said to himself when he took on this job that it was very important that he go with a studio who could release this in theaters, because this is a story that's worthy of being told on a big screen and stuff like that. It should be a big tentpole type movie.
Okay, yeah.
John Chu took less money to make the movie with Warner Brothers than he would have with Netflix, because Netflix knows that there's no back end on a Netflix property. You don't get more money if more people stream it. You might get another job because a lot of people stream it, and you prove that you're worthy to the company in that regard, but you won't get more money because, you know, Hubie Halloween did way better than expected, you know? So, and if it was a movie that's in a movie theater, directors, star actors, they get points on the back end. Mm-hmm. So if you have $100 million movie, you know, rather than paying Will Smith, who is starring in King Richard, which is also being released on HBO Max, instead of paying him $30 million, just to throw out a weird number, $30 million for what he might do for a Netflix movie, he'll do $20 million on a Warner Brother movie because he'll know that he'll make $20 million in back end on the other side, $10 to $20 million in back end.
What it sounds like is some really wealthy people made some bad bets. So I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for the U.S. government to step in and just bail all these people out and give them, some sort of recompense for their losses.
It's not bad bets. It's just that they were all hornswoggled, for lack of a better term. They were all being told that these are going to be movies that will be released in theaters, and have none of the people who were involved in any of these movies were talked to prior to this decision being made. And it sort of came on the heels of Wonder Woman 1984 being announced as being available on Christmas Day on HBO Max, rather than being in theaters. It will still be in theaters on Christmas Day for where there are theaters open in this country or around the world. Yeah. But it seems like it seems like a problem for one time, not the whole slate. Yeah. Yeah. So real quick, let me just run through the movies here real quick. The ones that are on the slate, and that way people know what we're talking about. Just in no particular order. I think this might be in order of release, but who knows? Mortal Kombat, In the Heights, Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, Space Jam, Suicide Squad, Dune, Elvis, King Richard, Matrix 4, and a couple other movies beyond that. These are huge high-end properties. Like Dune and Suicide Squad are expected to be movies that probably made hundreds of $1 million of box office, and people like Denis Villeneuve of Dune were probably expecting the theater experience regardless of how long it took to get Dune out into theaters. You can make an argument, I guess, that Wonder Woman 84, because if you keep backing that up, then you can't start making other DC properties,
especially Wonder Woman, because you can't make the next one until you get this one out and see how it does, I guess.
Right. Or like just get it, there's an element of you're sort of catching the river midstream with these things, because they've already planned for the next 5 years of DC movies. So if you push everything back, then that means you're pushing something 5 years from now back again,
Well, but couldn't you say the same thing about Suicide
Squad?
Pushing
Aquaman 4 back,
Couldn't you say the same thing about Suicide Squad and in its own way Dune? Because I think that's going to be the competitor to Star Wars. It was always meant to be the competition to Star Wars.
I mean, I think with Suicide Squad, you could probably make the same sort of argument. I don't know what benefit you other than sitting on the property and not being able to make any money off of it until you get closer to an eventual theater opening. A lot of these movies feel like they could have sat, I don't think anyone. So King Richard, the one with Will Smith, that's about Venus and Serena Williams' father.
Yeah.
There's not a ticking clock on everyone's making that same movie, and it's we got to get first to market or something like that. You'd be okay sitting on this one for 3 months or three quarters or something like that, and just releasing it Christmas time next year.
You say that, except for, as we know, the rule is if somebody's doing one in Hollywood, somebody else is also doing one, and maybe they have it, they're ready to go, and if they wait, then that project that's been just sitting in turnaround over at Universal or at Sony is going to get pushed through, and now we have 2 Serena and Venus movies coming out at the same time because they were like, you know what, we got time, we can get this in because they're going to push it to 2022, so we'll just shoot it in the summer.
You could, but then you'd have to figure out a way to shoot it during COVID restrictions and stuff like that. It's just
stuff's getting shot right now.
Yeah, stuff that needs to get shot. That's the difference. CSI Miami waits for no man. They have to have new episodes of that, or else people will just freak out.
The NCIS series are getting shot. Chicago Fire, anything Dick Wolf or that sounds like it might be Dick Wolf is getting shot right now. So how is that only what needs to be shot?
Network TV is what is basically being shot right now. There is some cable properties that are being shot here and there. They're trying to get through movies, but it's always unless you're talking about in Atlanta. God damn it.
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry.
Yep.
Tyler Perry did the full bubble for all his cast and crew. So he's been pretty safe down there. But everywhere else, like Jurassic Park got shut down a couple times, I think. Mission Impossible, I think, got shut down. All these big movies that are trying to find some sort of way to get through are all getting shut down every once in a while for a positive COVID test. And basically, like on a set, if somebody gets sick and they're anywhere close to anyone else, then the whole thing gets put on hold for a little bit.
Yeah, so what's the lesson? The lesson is that the NBA, NHL style bubbles, what Tyler Perry's doing, is the way to make movies now. So we make movies.
I mean, for the time being, yes. I mean, that would be the best way of doing it, but then you have to have money for that. That's the real problem. That's the thing that is separating like movie theater, movie studios like Warner Brothers and Disney and stuff like that. They could figure out a way to try and make a Jurassic Park shoot get through and stuff like that, but an indie is not going to be able to do that. And indie movies are just on ice right now.
Did you watch?
And if you're a TV show that's not on network television, then you're kind of on ice too. So it's kind of a weird world where only the top end projects are being made at the moment. And there's some things that are happening on the independent level, but it's really touch and go.
Did you watch Mank this weekend?
I did.
Yeah, so it reminds me of Louis B. Mayer talking about the millions of dollars that they waste on stuff and then going out to the crew and being like, everybody needs to watch themselves. We're taking cuts across the board. Everybody's losing money. And it's like, yeah, you're claiming poverty, but are you really? And,
right.
And I mean, this move from HBO, and I think your argument during the pre-show discussion was like, oh, well, people aren't going to want to go work for them. They're going to have nothing there.
Well, I mean, like specifically Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
One of our highest regarded directors
right now.
His quote was, "It's very, 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 very messy. A real bait and switch. Yeah, it's sort of not how you treat filmmakers and stars and people who these guys have given a lot for these projects. They deserve to be consulted and spoken to about what was going to happen to their work."
And I think
Nolan specifically went to Warner Brothers to do Tenet because they said they would give him a theatrical opening. They promised him a theatrical opening.
Yeah.
They wouldn't just shove it on HBO Max. They'd give it a proper chance to have a run in theaters, and he's very serious about that because he believes in the movie theater experience. Like that's why he shoots IMAX. That's why he always tells people go see this in a theater because it's an experience meant for a big screen. You know,
I think Chris Nolan is suffering under the same issue that you're suffering under. You think you're creating pieces of art, and in some cases you are. Christopher Nolan does a really great job making a movie that is a piece of art. But are you in the art business?
No, I mean, we're in the movie business.
And the most important
which
part
is
of that
show
phrase
business, yeah.
is the business. We are in the business of show or the business of movies. And so I'm sorry that you, Mr. Creator, don't get to create and put out the thing you want, but that's kind of what the deal is. You took a position, you took a role, you took whatever you took under the understanding that something was going to go some way. Is it contractually obligated? No. Well, then me, being a businessman, get to make a business decision.
That's the problem. There is not anyone saying that this is not part of the contract that's already set in place, because a lot of these agents who negotiate these contracts sort of put in there like, listen, if you put us on streaming or if this does not go to theaters, then my client gets X amount or some sort of penalty happens, or we have the ability to pull out of the movie, or like whatever the case may be.
Sounds like Chris Nolan needs a better agent. I don't know.
No, but what I'm saying now is that
I think he could probably.
What I'm saying now is that like Warner Brothers better enjoy the 17 movies that they're going to be putting on HBO Max, because they're going to have a real hard time getting high end talent to come make more movies of Warner Brothers, and that's what they really need if they're trying to get the HBO Max service off the ground here,
Fair enough. Now, I do want to make one counter argument to what you were saying, because I'm looking at this list of movies that you put together. Mortal Kombat, from this list, Mortal Kombat, Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, Space Jam, Suicide Squad, Dune, and Matrix 4.
Yeah.
So of the ones that you listed, all but 2 of those are probably going to be new franchise properties, or they're at least trying to make them franchise properties.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Mortal Kombat has been a struggle to find a way to make that video game into a movie that people will relate to, that we can make sequels to. So the hope is to do that. Same thing with Tom and Jerry is, basically a franchise that you're going to try to continue writing more movies from. Godzilla versus Kong is 2 franchises you're trying to mold together because they're building this like fighting monsters universe that they want to have or whatever. So all of these things are franchises. So you're telling me, the head of Warner Brothers, that I need to put my future expenses and my future profits on hold because of a couple of people who made something that they thought was art when they forgot it was a business that I was paying for.
This is art and business, though, on the other side of the camera. And that's the real problem, because this is very short-sighted it's great for the consumer. If you are somebody who subscribes to HBO Max, then you're going to say to yourself, for the price of a movie ticket, I'm getting a brand new movie every single month, plus the HBO catalog, plus TMC and DC and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Go down the list of all the things that HBO Max has. It's good. But like what you're going to find is you're going to have yourself in a real situation here, because, say you don't get any of the stars who are in Suicide Squad to return for the sequel because of how you treated them with the HBO Max.
Unfortunately, they're contractually obligated to return for the sequel.
But they might be contractually obligated for a feature released in theaters. That's part of the thing. This is something that's written into contracts.
But you're reading
take another example here. One I know for sure. Godzilla vs. Kong, right? Mm-hmm. It's a co-production between Legendary and Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers is the one who is basically distributing the flick, and they've also put in money towards the production. But Legendary owns the rights to Godzilla vs. Kong. So if you piss off Legendary and keep them from being able to get the money that they thought they'd be able to get on their hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment, then they might say, fuck you, we're taking Godzilla versus Kong to Disney or to Sony or to
they own the rights
Paramount
to
or whatever
of those characters. Warner Brothers owns the rights to the other one. That's how they're bringing it together. I don't think Legendary
possibly
owns the rights to both. It's like, hey, so
they might own it for Godzilla or Kong.
Yeah, so
I know that Legendary's like basically the main producer on this one.
Yeah, and I think that Warner Brothers also knows we're not good at this. We cannot put together a franchise to save our lives. So if you think you can do it, these 2 characters have fought before when it was somebody else's IP. Now we own one, you own one. We're going to loan you our IP. You make the movie and we'll distribute it. And now it's a joint project and we're doing the whole thing.
I mean, imagine for an instance you got hired on as a manager at a work, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be the manager at this McDonald's, just to make it easy.
Yeah.
And then every day you go in and the owner operator of the place is sort of doing all the managerial stuff, so you end up just doing like line cook stuff,
Okay.
But you still have the title of manager, and they still say they're going to pay you as a manager.
Right.
But then right before they, give you your paycheck, they say, you didn't really do manager work this week, so we're going to pay you for line cook work instead. You'd say, that's fucked up. We had an agreement as to how this was going to go, and now you're hamstringing me financially based off of a decision that you made that I had no part in.
The difference is, though,
and
the agreement that I reached
if you were in this position, you would say, fuck you guys, I'm not coming back to work next week because you mistreat me like this.
Except for in that position, I've negotiated a salary per week. And there are people, and historically there has been a situation where you go to a studio and you get paid by the week. You get the same paycheck every single week and you go to work every single week, right? That was the studio system. And we've gone away from that. So listen, if you want to make sure that you are going to make money that's guaranteed, then come work for Universal. And we're going to pay you $12,000 a week. That'll be what? $1.2 million in a year? $12,000 a week? Yeah, something like that. $1.2 million. So then I have a guaranteed paycheck. Otherwise, you do what I do, which is you get a contract that says, this is how much I make every single week. And you sign it and I sign it. And then I'm guaranteed to make that much every single week. Or for this project, I'm going to come in, you're going to pay me $1 million, and however long it takes me, it takes me. Okay, great. Now I, as the artiste, can decide how long that's going to be. But if the contract doesn't say it has to be distributed a certain way, now it may in the future, all the ones in the future, they're going to argue about the feature release contract.
I imagine we had 17 movies that are up for release. I imagine we're going to see at least 10 lawsuits based off of contract language.
I guess we'll see. But what it comes down
this
to
is not the type of thing that they would give up. You know, like if you're making an investment in a movie like this, a lot of places have a guarantee that it will be given its theatrical window.
Yeah, and maybe,
and I mean, again, you know, if you're a filmmaker, you're getting paid more to go to Netflix, not because streaming is thought of less than a movie theater experience. I mean, it is in the eyes of like every director would rather it be on a movie theater than on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And because you can make more money if the movie is successful in the theater, Netflix has to pay more to factor in that amount of money. Before, you know, they signed Adam Sandler to a huge contract to make multiple movies. Adam Sandler was making the same kind of money on these new Netflix movies that he was making when he was, you know, The Waterboy and stuff like that.
SNL. Yeah.
When he was making the biggest bucks of his entire career. He is not worth that on the open market, but he's worth that at Netflix because Netflix knows
a bunch of dumb people watch their shit and they want Adam Sandler.
We pay him more than people think that he's worth up front. And then we own it forever.
Yeah.
And we never have to worry. We never have to give Sandler another dime for this movie. We've paid him up front.
And that model works right now, but it won't work forever. And especially with the economic downturn that is inevitably coming with a Democratic administration, we always get a downturn in the economy. We'll see if it continues for the next 4 years.
I mean, at the end of the day, the major studios are going to find a way to make movies eventually.
Yeah.
Like once it's safe to do so, production will pick back up. And I don't know if you want to be saying to yourself, we want to make movies for the next decade or so without Christopher Nolan, without Quentin Tarantino, without Scorsese, without all the big name directors who are, and all the big name stars, all the Leos and the Tom Hanks and all these people who are going to say, no, I'm not going to let you do this to me.
So, and
are going to put specific language in the contract that will.
This is what I want to ask you before. Give me 5 names of the biggest directors right now. 5 names.
I mean, I just went through Nolan, Spielberg,
let's say. So
Spike Lee, Scorsese, Denis Villeneuve.
Okay.
Coen brothers.
I'm not going to count Vinny Villeneuve or whoever. I
mean, he's doing Dune. That's why I was thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think that he got an opportunity with Dune the same way that Josh Trank got a chance with
no. Villeneuve is a big name. He's Mad Max or not Mad Max. What's the other? God damn it. Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner. He did that one.
See it. Didn't even know that.
But
you know who I knew was on that movie? Roger Deakins. I knew Roger Deakins was on the movie. Didn't know who the director was. But let's go through a couple of those names because you say Spielberg, Scorsese, and Quentin Tarantino, right?
Yeah.
Why are they big names in directors right now?
Because
they were always big names. They came into the industry with a boom. They were huge names from the beginning. They were given hundreds of $1 millions on their very first projects and told to go off to the races. Oh, no. Because in the 70s, we had this opportunity to make a lot of small movies with unknown directors, and the cream of the crop rose to the top, and now we exalt them today. And there was this no-name actor who was playing a special needs kid in a movie in 1988. What was his name?
Leo.
Oh, that's right. He was a fucking nobody. And
he wasn't a nobody though. That's the.
He was on a soap opera before he was on Gilbert Grape. That is who Leo is.
Yeah, but I mean, like he was young. He was coming up. This is an opportunity to invest young in it. This is a Millie Bobby Brown situation.
That is exactly my point. That's my point. Is that we've had the same crop of 15 directors who are the best directors ever, and once in a while somebody breaks in, and then like Josh Trank, who takes his art more seriously than the business, they shut the shit down and they close him out, and now he's going to be out for good after the most recent one. God damn, I did a review on it. Gangster
Secretary or something like that.
No, the gangster movie. Capone went straight to streaming. That was his big chance to get back in the box office, and it went to streaming. So what I'm saying is, let them. Let everybody who wants to make who thinks they are a big shit in Hollywood go somewhere else, and let Warner go out and find the next Tarantino, the next Robert Rodriguez, the next Scorsese, the next Spielberg. Give them $1 million and say, go make a movie.
That is a super ambitious idea for something that will not work for. That takes a while.
It's worked 3 times. Every 3 times we've had a new crop of directors, it's been because some company said we got to start all over, or we are a new company and we're starting out and we're giving everybody a little bit of money to go make good movies.
It wasn't one studio who said, hey, there's a bunch of promising young filmmakers. We should all give them a nominal sum and let them make movies. That was spread out amongst many studios. And there were more studios then. We had Fox then. We had different people who were, we had different people who were playing
in our conversation earlier. And I was like, God damn, I should have known you watched Mank after you dropped the RKO.
After saying that, yeah. I was also looking up theaters earlier, so that was part of my process.
In the end, it's yes, there were more theaters then, and there should be more studios. There should be more studios now. Like the fact that we're concentrating all of the movie business in the hands of 3 companies. 3 companies control everything now.
We're basically what Warner Brothers is setting themselves up for is a situation a lot like the Orioles with the constant rebuild. It's like, let's bring in a new crop of young guys and maybe they can figure it out and put it together and win this thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. If everyone is trying to find a space in the low budget to get a new crop of directors out there, then you can get a new crop of directors out there. But one studio alone is not going to be able to do it. And any of these people who have an opportunity to go literally anywhere else probably will. That's the thing.
Well, the Orioles.
If you have an option to get $10 million from Warner or $10 million from Disney and $12 million from Warner Brothers, you're probably just going to take the $10 million from Disney and not have to worry about what you're going to go through.
See, and I thought you were avoiding the hot takes, things that you're going to regret saying in a year or two. But I guess we'll see. Maybe you're right. But
I mean, like, this is a big stab for Warner's. Like, it's. If it works out well for them, if they are able to turn this into a favorable Roku deal, being able to put their service on there, if they can turn HBO Max into something that I don't have to spend 20 minutes explaining to my mother so she knows how to download it and get it, because she already has HBO, and she's like, but I have HBO. Don't I have HBO Max? I'm like, no, it's a different service. It's like, but I have HBO Go. And it's like, that doesn't exist anymore. It's HBO Max now. And she's like, I don't get it. I'm like, nobody does. It's a very complicated process. At the end of the day, you're betting really hard that so many people are going to get HBO Max because they want to see all these movies that they're going to leapfrog over the 3 or 4 streaming services that are directly above them in Disney Plus, Netflix, and Prime, that you're going to get into that market. You're going to get that many people that you can make that happen. And then you're going to be able to get a new crop of filmmakers and actors who are really popular immediately. Like, because years 2022 through 2028 are going to be real rough for Warner Brothers if this doesn't pan out the way they think it will.
Hey, Warner, make me your head of talent, because I got access to this app that has a lot of people that young people really think are amazing on it. I got connections there. I can get you connected to them. We'll get you a new crop of stars. But
they already know about TikTok.
What I was going to say is, much like the Orioles, if the Warner decides to go this way, they really only need one heavy hitter. And also, much like the Orioles, they got to just keep him off the drugs. If they keep him off the drugs, then he won't screw up the playoff potential of that particular year, and maybe they can do something with it. But, got to worry about the heavy hitter for getting his prescription for the drugs.
Warner Brothers is going to look like the Orioles in the wake of a Chris Davis signing for a while here, unless things go really, really well. I mean, like the one that is, if we're making this a Chris Davis reference, Chris Davis would have had to have hit 70 home runs every single year for that contract to make sense for them,
Yeah.
Because you're not getting a star like that anytime soon. So you got to make the most of that 5-year window that you have him signed and get so much beyond the value of the contract that it is unlike anything you've ever seen before. You know, like that's the problem. It's a huge bet.
I want to make note.
I'm not saying they can't do it, or I'm sure they've broken down all the numbers. They know where they stand. It's a very big bet. It's a dick on the table kind of move, you know, like you've put it all out there.
I do want to make a note for posterity. I've been trying to transition to the next topic for the last 10 minutes after Corey sent me a message reminding me of it. But I just realized he was trying to work out a put my dick on the table reference, and now we got it. So now we can move on. So speaking of putting your dick on the table, it looks like everybody in California is basically just walking around with no pants. And by that I just mean they don't give a fuck in California anymore. Nobody here gives a fuck about anything. And we were discussing a little game of stupid or selfish. And I do lean more towards selfish, that people are just fucking unbelievably selfish in this city in particular. It's just like, wait, it doesn't affect me, so why should I care about it? But also, I know a lot of dumb people. So at the same time, I'm like, maybe it's a little bit of stupid on top of the selfish. It's hard to say.
Stupid can beget selfish, I think. So it's not necessarily one way or the other. But basically, we got a comment in the Discord, and everybody, you can make sure you can join us while we do our live recording on the Discord. You can put in comments there, or you can comment on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or wherever you are. We get the comments all in one place. Discord just puts you right in. And Roxanne Cruz, who's watching on Facebook, said, Corey Baker, can you send me the same instructions you sent your mom for HBO Max? It wasn't instructions. It was like a 45-minute phone call. That's basically how.
Apparently, you have to talk every old lady who watches our show through the instructions on downloading HBO Max. Anyway, COVID.
Another comment will be coming shortly. I can feel it. I can feel the keyboard churning from here.
Anyway, so stupid or selfish.
I mean, like, I think the problem is that most of, at least to my mind, most of where these cases are coming from are people who are just throwing parties and having a bunch of people over and saying like, oh, I'm safe, it'll be fine. And not like... Or lying to their significant other about where they go shopping on the weekends. I think that there's a lot of people who are having like... The parties in the hills was like a big thing for a while. I don't know if it's still happening as frequently as it was before, but
no, they all got COVID, so they're not doing it anymore.
I mean, it's just like people are wearing their masks. People are distancing from what I can tell whenever I go out and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know, like everyone thinks that you just go inside a house and you take off your mask and you're okay. Like it's getting to the point where you have to worry about it in places. You have to get even more strict about your rules than you did before, and people are less inclined to get strict about the rules. You know, they felt like we've already been through the strictest part of this. I'm not going back.
Also, I don't know if you've been to downtown, but did you see before they shut down all dining, which they've done again, thankfully, did you see some of the outdoor dining facilities?
Yeah.
They had built like walls and a roof and partitioned off so that, and I was like, oh, so outdoor dining is basically just a building now. We've made a building on the sidewalk, and we're going to
building with airflow.
Yeah, and we're going to call that an outdoor dining experience.
Well, I mean, you know, you got to see what it's like on the East Coast where it's getting cold.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Like in New York, it's not just like a ramshackle tent. It's like literally like a shed that's been built outside with like heaters and shit.
Yep.
And it's just like, that's not quite outdoor dining just because it's outside the walls of your business.
Yeah, listen, me sitting my ass on the sidewalk watching a homeless guy walk right past me does not make this outdoor dining if there's glass between me and the homeless guy. Like, I'm indoors now.
Here's the real problem is that like, I feel awful for restaurants and people who are just trying to make an honest living and people who are just getting like, this isn't the fact that nobody has figured out that we need to subsidize people who are struggling here. Like that's the real key to getting through this. Like there was a video that was making all the rounds everywhere with a woman here in Southern California somewhere, like saying that the state has shut her down and she doesn't know how she's going to make ends meet.
Orange
She's got
County.
all these employees.
Yeah. She was on Fox News. I saw her.
Yeah, and she showed off her outdoor dining area, and it was, it looked perfectly fine to me as far as like as safe as you could possibly make it.
Mm-hmm.
She was upset because the film crew was shooting basically under the same pretenses right next to her. Now,
Right.
I imagine that all those people were spread out a little bit more than the restaurant would. And being a film shoot, you got to get tested like every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is not the same as what's going on with all the customers who come to your restaurant.
Wait, you mean the strangers who show up with money to take what you've prepared for them? That's
yeah,
not the
but I
same
mean,
as
like,
a close-knit film crew?
I'm not. This isn't trying to be like a film versus restaurant conversation, but it's like, this is not necessarily the fault of the film crew. Like we're all trying to make do. I feel terrible for literally everyone who is struggling in any kind of way because of this, because it could be avoidable. Yes. I mean, people could be when we were getting $600 before, it was making it a lot easier for people to find a way through a little bit,
and go out to eat a little bit, like order delivery more often.
Yeah, I mean, and some restaurants are going to struggle because they're not ready for, like delivery or takeout. Like I'm sure some high-end restaurants that are about the experience are not doing well right now.
Well, it's hard to justify a $90 steak when it's a $10 piece of meat in a really nice building. If you're not in a really nice building.
It's tough, and like I feel sorry for them, but it's sort of how it happens sometimes. Like I there's no perfect solution. That's the problem. And I mean, like we talked so much about last week about the sort of arbitrary nature of how these rules are. Like we're going to go from 35% to 20% in retail areas and stuff like that. And like, how do you come up with those numbers? And what do you? And no situation is going to be perfect. The outdoor dining that works out wonderfully in Santa Monica probably doesn't work downtown. Mm-hmm. And the one that works downtown probably doesn't work in, North Hollywood or something like that. It's not like
a very big city, and we have to have rules that cover everybody everywhere. But yeah, the other thing that I think people keep forgetting is, by the way, 4 out of 5 restaurants fail in the first 3 years. 2 out of 5 fail in the first year. So there's a lot of places that are like, well, we just opened our doors and now it looks like we're going to have to close. Like, great. I'm sorry. You're a statistic. That's kind of how it works. Not everybody survives their first year, and especially their first 3 years. But in the end, it has never been a better time to be a restaurateur and to be forced to do delivery. There are multiple options, and apparently the sign up for Uber Eats is unbelievably easy, and all you need is a laptop that can open up a website, and you have a USB connection from that to a printer, and it'll print off all your tickets just like it was in your kitchen.
Yeah, but I mean, from the perspective of somebody who worked at a restaurant and was on the other end of Uber Eats trying to convince us to be on their platform.
Yeah.
It is not a good deal for the restaurant because they take a percentage to lower the delivery fee.
Is it better deal than closing your doors and firing all your employees?
No, it's a better deal than that for sure.
Okay, well, but I don't know then.
But I mean, like it's like one of those
stupid or selfish. Stupid or selfish. You want to do it your way, and if it's not your way, you're just going to complain about it. But what I'm saying is there are options. You're not willing as the restaurateur to embrace them. That's on you. You have to fire everybody and close your doors. That's on you. You made that decision.
But it's like some people are very against Amazon because they close the small businesses in your area, right? So imagine if you're struggling. Hold on. Imagine if all of a sudden all you had to turn to was Amazon. That was your last resort, right? Mm-hmm. You are not feeling great about it. You're saying, I have to do this because I can't leave my house and I need eggs, and Amazon will bring eggs to me.
Yep.
And I have no other service that's capable of doing this thing. And I promised I'd never give Amazon money, but here I am.
Yeah.
A lot of these places didn't want to give Uber Eats money for delivery, not because they didn't want to have some sort of delivery service, but because they didn't want to be charged 25% of every dollar that comes in through that purchase, because margins are so thin already that you can't just leave a huge percentage like that off the top. How
is Uber going to influence entire elections if they don't get their money to subsidize their delivery fee?
You're so into the capitalists just taking advantage of the situation, just strong arming this thing. It's like talking to a new Rob.
I'm taking
social media for a week has made you Made you like a little Ayn Rand compilation.
I'm taking my Trump 2016 application of politics and I'm applying it to the economy, where it's just like, if I point out that this is capitalism and how it works, that maybe people will just be like, there's got to be a better way for us to organize this system. And I'd be like, you're right. Sit down, buddy. Let me tell you about socialism. Wait, isn't
everyone must purchase volcano insurance. Do we have a volcano anywhere near us? No,
Not yet.
but you need to purchase volcano insurance.
But
it's very expensive. It's prohibitively expensive.
But I mean, no. First of all, also, the biggest comment I get from people is not it's I don't want the government to own my stuff, and that's when I say something like, "You're talking about communism," which I'm also for, but. I'll take communism.
You're for
light.
so many of the things.
Socialism is sharing the wealth. Communism is sharing the property. So what I'm saying is, let's share the wealth. If you don't like the way that these things are breaking down, then what we should do is create a system where everyone benefits from the wealth, not just a few people. Because money begets more money, and no money begets homelessness. And I don't want to be homeless. But yeah, so it's not. It's this is how it's going to be for the next few months, where I just take that 2016 stance of like, maybe if I point out how bad it is, we'll burn it all down. Yeah. Now, what I didn't take into account before starting that argument was it worked swimmingly with the Trump election in 2016, but also backfired. Worked, but backfired so much. If you understand, didn't get the revolution, just got the shitty president who didn't know what he was doing.
We got some kind of revolution.
Yeah, like not no mask mandate, not being Operation Warp Speed, getting us a vaccine, which we then cannot distribute to anyone because, as you pointed out in our pre-show call, the U.S. pre-purchased a bunch of vaccines, and then Pfizer or Moderna, one or the other, said, "Well, we need more money to make this, so we're pre-selling more. U.S., you bought a bunch of them. We'll offer you some more." And the Operation Warp Speed was apparently like, no, we're good with what we have. And they sold those to other countries. And now they're like, all right, here's our first batch of 300 million. And the U.S. is like, oh, we're getting all of that, right? And they're like, oh, no, we already pre-sold these. Here's the 100 million you pre-bought. What about the rest of them? Well, we pre-sold those to other countries. Well, that doesn't seem fair. That's capitalism. Yeah. So essentially there are 60 million people in our phase 1 rollout that states are putting out, which is frontline workers like nurses and doctors, people in hospitals, also police, fire, anyone who power workers are actually on that list, by the way, which is good. I didn't think about that ahead of time, but I'm like, yes. Also communications companies like Spectrum, their people will get it. Great. Because if I have to be locked in my apartment with no power and no internet, there will be a revolution. I will tell you that. I will take to the streets. The only thing keeping me docile is Netflix and Hulu at this point, and HBO Max.
Just see a 8 air conditioner just flying out on the Cahuenga, just like,
I've had enough. Next thing you know,
Attica!
I'm on the corner. I'm standing on a box. There's a small crowd around me, and
At least your tattered robes will be the most amazing Technicolor masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say Louis B. Mayer was going to come out of a hotel and make some derogatory comments about me, but he's been dead for a while, so I'm sure I'll be fine. By the way, did you notice who was playing Upton Sinclair?
Oh, Bill Nye?
Bill Nye. It just snuck up on me. I heard the voice. I'm like, I know the voice. And then it's like, you see him off in the distance. I'm like, oh, it's Nye. Yes.
The worst part about that for me, as somebody who likes Upton Sinclair, I have a copy of The Jungle right here, and
why is the price tag still on it? It's still wrapped up in the paper. That's odd.
Do you want me to show you the wear of my copy of The Jungle? Is that what you require? No. I liked Upton Sinclair. Never knew he actually ran for office. That was news to me when I watched
a lot. He ran a lot.
Watched Bank. Yeah,
he lost.
I had no idea.
Lost a lot.
I thought he just wrote. So, that was news to me.
Yeah, he was Eugene V. Debs light. Eugene V. Debs was like a communist who then was like, no, seriously, I'm a socialist. Here, this is what we're going to do. And everybody's like, nah, you're a communist. We know. And then Upton Sinclair was like, hey, I'm not a socialist. I just want all of these things that seem like socialism. And a bunch of Republicans were like, seems like a socialist to us. And yeah, he got, like Debs, got resoundingly beaten anytime he ran for anything important. So, but to wrap up on the COVID news, so we don't skip over it. The only thing left to really talk about, other than stupid and selfish, how many people are sick, and that the current administration has done nothing, is that the people we were praising just a few months ago, specifically our local folks here, Garcetti and Newsom, have managed to squander all of that political capital and all of that moral high ground because they're also selfish and stupid.
Yeah. I mean, more so the stupid, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, I feel like the weight of California's I don't give a fuck about what you're saying, Newsom, extends directly to the French Laundry thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, he literally did not need to do this. And it was a convenience for him to go to an indoor dining place when nobody else could. And just the fact that he did something like that, and now he's like, now everyone's got to be extra good. All the boys and girls need to be extra good. Santa's watching. It's just like, fuck you.
Yes.
I don't give a shit. I don't care what you have to say. And Garcetti, much the same way, only in a different way. Like, Garcetti, I don't feel like has done things wrong from like a planning COVID scenario.
That
like, I
we
feel
know
like,
of.
well, I mean, like there definitely have been problems here, but I mean, like, I'm not saying, it seems like they haven't taken their eyes off the ball of trying to do what they can to limit death as much as humanly possible. Obviously, there's people in the business community who are not happy with him for shutting things down, but he's making a calculation on that regard. More than anything, it's just the fact that literally any situation that you put a microphone in front of his face, he says the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it just adds to the same sort of fuck you Newsom attitude of the whole thing. Like, he just can't. It would be so easy. Like, literally go as left as you possibly think you can. And whatever answer you give, just channel your inner Rob up until today's episode of the podcast.
Or guillotines. There's a nice zone in there, like, between guillotines.
I mean, like, honestly, if Garcetti had just gone up to a podium, it's like, what do you think about your police department? It's just like, I think I'm about to invest in guillotines. I imagine most of LA would still be okay with them.
That's actually probably true.
I mean, like, it's not like they'd be like, oh, you went too far. Like, there would be LA being like, oh, it's just Garcetti being Garcetti. It's fine. No problem.
The Rev
no
Club,
problem here.
Rev Club's out there with their signs. Garcetti's been X'd out off the sign. They're like, he's cool with us. All right, moving on. Who else?
But I mean, like, you know, he's just like literally everything that isn't COVID, he's bungled like crazy.
Yeah.
And even the COVID things, when he tries to do what he thinks is best, he just steps in it in some other way. Like, so when the order that was put out that has so many holes in it, it's just like a stay-at-home order unless you don't feel like being there
Right.
kind of thing.
Yes, that's basically what it says.
There's an exemption for podcasting. We could literally do this in person and totally be within the realm of the law because
except for
we're
patient
allowed
Sarah is over there at the studio.
we're allowed to congregate for podcasting because it's essential business.
Well, I find it to be essential. I don't know what to do.
I mean, if my podcast feed was empty tomorrow, I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
So, but you know, they put out this thing where it's just like, don't walk, drive, scoot, or bike, or take a metro any more than you need to. And then a bunch of right-wing people take that as like, Garcetti bans walking to counteract COVID.
Yeah.
And it's like, clearly that's not what he meant.
And
like,
meanwhile, I'm on my scooter like,
if you need to go to lunch or go to work or go to the store or something like that, then yes, feel free to go out and take a bike or a scooter or a car or whatever you need to do. But he was just saying, like, don't just go out because you got nothing better to do and you feel like going out.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, if you're like exercising or you need to walk the dog or any of these things, like, it's fine. But don't just say like, hey, it's Tuesday and I'm bored in my house, so I'm going to walk around downtown. Like, that's not a good way of keeping yourself healthy in this situation, you know?
Or,
like,
everyone could do what you did and just invest in pee pads as flooring and just put them everywhere, and then you don't have to worry about walking the dog at all and exercise. Yeah, I got a picture of Corey sleeping that was during his exercise period this week, so I got no further comment on that. But I'll say that Garcetti is setting himself up for a 2024 run then, clearly, because if there's anything I've seen over the last 4 years, and especially the last few months, it's the president just needs to know how to say the wrong thing every single time a microphone is put in his face, including claiming that a campaign is not over and that there was fraud, despite everyone, including his own people and his news network. I mean,
well,
his
not
former
all
news
of his
network,
people,
but most of his people, the ones who aren't certifiably insane and also calling witnesses from my dating past to speak before Congress. Other than those people, then yes, they.
Well, I mean, I think we should skip down to the bottom item here and say that there was recently a poll put out there amongst all the Republicans in the Congress, both the Congress and the Senate, 249 in total. Two of those people said that Trump had won the election, and this was all a big sham.
By the
right?
way, those two people who are now lame ducks, they're facing being put out. So,
then 27 of them said that Biden won.
those are people who've been called rhinos. Most of those people have been called rhinos before anyway, so they're already like, we know Trump doesn't like us. We're going to say what we want.
And then the remaining 220 would not say whether or not Trump won or lost. They're not feeling comfortable enough about the situation to call it at the moment.
And those are just cowards. Those are what we call Republicans today, who are just like, well, listen, for 6 weeks, I got to make
Literally
that guy,
almost everyone in the party. That's basically.
For 6 weeks, I got to make sure that guy doesn't push the big red button that's been on his desk for 4 years. He's been asking us, is it really hooked up? Is it really hooked up?
Just Mitt Romney and 26 of his friends.
But yeah, the cases continue. They continue to lose. Sidney Powell, this will probably be the last time we get to reference her, because the one thing that she had filed after she had been kicked off the legal team has now been thrown out of court as well. So they're done. And Rudy, unfortunately, has COVID now. Surprise, the guy who'd been traveling around the country, shaking hands with a bunch of people, not wearing a mask, has the coronavirus. So, the legal team that was basically being held together by his hair grease and spray tan will now dissipate in the water that is the coronavirus.
You have defeated the mighty legal tribunal of Trump.
Yeah, logic and reason defeated the tribunal of Trump, and apparently COVID as well thrown in. But the only other stuff, the biggest story is the week. Georgia is recertifying their results because Kemp got called out by the president, and he was like, "No, I'm not gonna send 2 state electors. If they recertify the vote, then we'll just send the electors that are there," because apparently there was a vote, a recount, a certification, and then another recount which didn't undo the first recount. It added votes to Biden at the end of the second recount, but apparently somebody went into court and made a legal argument that result had not been certified, even though it improved the position of the opposition candidate.
Well, the other thing was the third one is a hand recount.
Yes.
So the second one was just like, let's run them all through the machines again.
Yeah.
And then the third one was that let's look at every single ballot by hand and figure out what the total was. And, for Linwood and
Powell.
What's her face?
Sidney
Powell. Yeah, Sidney Powell. Like, their whole argument was the Dominion voting machines are changing the votes. So after they were done with the hand count, and the vote was essentially the same exact thing.
Well, no, improved for Biden because
improved for Biden by 44 votes or whatever it was.
Yeah,
but
because there were some people who didn't clearly mark their ballot, and the machine just counts it as a null. It's like, yes, a vote went through. We can't count this.
Fill in your bubble enough. That's the problem. You got to go all the way to the edge.
All those years in school, and you didn't figure out how to fill out a bubble.
But
what is it? This is purple glitter pen. Why would you think that? How many bubbles have you filled out in your life?
Is
Number
this
2.
blood? Is this blood? You don't need this for a vote for Joe Jorgensen.
I mean, I think she requires it, though. She requires the vote be in blood. It's part of the covenant that you form with her. Speaking of the covenant, Trump has also formed a covenant with the people who support him to the tune of a $200 million backing. Not blood, but close, I guess, at $200 million.
Money. Hard-earned money.
Which he's using for the legal fight to undo the election, which technically means he can spend it on whatever he wants. No, a quarter of it has to go to the RNC, but the rest of it is.
So basically, if you were if you donated money to Trump or put your name on his email list or something like that at any point in the last 5 years here, you have been getting bombarded since the election with emails every single day from, various like, hey, it's Donald Trump Jr. And I noticed you haven't given money to the Legal Defense Fund and stuff like that. I saw
it's Rudy Giuliani.
I saw somebody. I can't come to the phone right now, but here's a letter.
I noticed you haven't given to the defense fund. How am I supposed to get back into court without your support?
So anyway, this super PAC, which has been raising money for the Legal Defense Fund, quote unquote,
yes,
has brought in $200 million. Like you said, 25% of that goes to the RNC, and then the rest of it is just available for Trump, I guess, because he can literally take all this money as long as he files it as income.
Well, so to be clear, he is not a member of the super PAC, but it's basically his cronies who run it. So he could give himself a paycheck and say, hey, I'm going to do one speech a month, every month for the next 4 years until the election. What's $150 million divided by 150 million? $1 million a month speaking fee is what I would like to get. And they're like, that sounds like a good investment of money. And $1 million a month goes into Trump's pocket so long as he claims it as income and he does do a speech. Then there's no law has been broken because capitalism.
But I mean, like, you need to buy him a new suit. Like that can come from that because it's going to be something he wears on one of these speeches, or haircut or anything about living his day-to-day life. Like these can all be part of the money that he gets from the people who are trying to fund his legal defense fund.
Yes.
Of which there are no results, no positive results whatsoever.
But I'm going to hit up that super PAC and see if maybe we can get a few Schmolians to get you a haircut, since I just found out the haircuts are covered. I'll be giving myself my 6th haircut, which means a full year now of haircuts.
Should I just start a super PAC of my own, the Corey Cuts?
Corey Cuts PAC? You'll never actually cut your hair, so then it would be a fraud for them to give you that money. Because nobody.
Eventually I will.
Well, I mean, listen, getting whatever Floyd the Barber, EDM, pop punk comb over thing, I don't consider that a real haircut. All right, I'm gonna need you to get a high
fair
and tight,
enough.
a high and tight. Just keep it nice, very Republican. All right, if I give my money, I expect a Joe Namath. No, I expect damn.
Now Johnny Unitas. There's a haircut you can send your watch to.
I expect the Johnny Unitas, not the Joe Namath, to show up when I give my money to that super PAC, and I just know that's not the case. So, but
speaking of Republicans, though,
yes,
they're also apparently turning on Fox News because Trump went down to Georgia to try and raise awareness for the
doesn't Charlie
two
Daniels
Senate
have a song
candidates
about that? Trump goes down to Georgia. He has.
Oh, it's the devil goes down.
Oh,
to
sorry. Okay, yeah. I always get those confused.
And apparently, when the Fox News reporters were doing their stand-up there was a bunch of angry people in the crowd who were chanting things like, we trusted you, and traitors, and, why aren't you defending the president, and blah, blah, blah. And so much so that people have stopped watching Foxes religiously. I mean, like, the opinion shows, the Tuckers, the Hannitys, and stuff like that, they're still doing well. But, the Fox is not number one in the ratings for news networks right now, and they're losing a lot of their audience to the far right versions, the OANs, the Newsmaxes, and it's a very interesting time because there's a long history of these far right kind of substitutions for Fox News that come up, and at some point along the line they get sued out of existence.
Oblivion. Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, like,
they still exist. Alec Jones still exists. He still makes a podcast. It's just all ranting about crazy conspiracy stuff, not political stuff anymore. Because he's like, I'm not wading in that water anymore.
Well, and I mean, like, some of these places that have pushed it further to the right have avoided the lawsuit. Like Breitbart, I don't think has really been sued for like defamation or anything like that yet. And InfoWars has been sued for things, but they kind of keep kicking the can down the road on that one. And, like, there's other ones that just fold. Didn't the Blaze just fold? I can't remember.
It got bought by somebody. But that was the guy who used to be on MSNBC was on the Blaze, right?
Yeah. And then he was on Fox, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the Blaze got bought by MSNBC or NBC Universal because there was something about him, like, going off the network. He was just like, no, I'm not going to be. He basically he left and went to Fox, and then went further right to the Blaze, and then the Blaze got bought by something central or like mainstream media, and he was basically like, all right, I got to go do a podcast because I can't go back to the center. I've gone too far. And I guess speaking of going too far, we are now 3 weeks from the end of the year, which means that the government funding that's current will run out in 3 weeks. The NDAA, the current NDAA, will run out in 3 weeks. And any chance to get a second stimulus in 2020 will run out in 3 weeks. All three things are being discussed in Congress right now. And the likelihood of any of that getting passed seems to be about zero. The NDAA, because Trump said he's going to veto it if they don't roll back Section 738 of the Communications Act. Whatever it is.
340.
340. He wants to attack Twitter, basically, for always putting the claims about the election.
Well, and Facebook and all the other ones.
Yes.
But, I mean, basically the NDAA is every single year we have to fund the military, and this is how we do it. And we've complained about particular NDAAs in the past.
Yeah, sometimes they also need to make American citizens into enemy combatants so they can black bag you and take you to a black site somewhere. That is also included in the NDAA.
That happens.
Yeah.
There's also a government funding bill, which is just the same thing we've been doing recently, which is go up to the line and then just do a CR to move it along, which I'm sure will happen here. And then, just general stimulus bills that are being discussed. There's one that was like a bipartisan working group that had put it together. All the people who are trying to hold on to the center, the Susan Collins, the Lisa Murkowskis, the Mitt Romneys,
and Mitch basically said no to that.
The Joe Manchins, they were all in this group, and I mean, I think that we might get some form of stimulus before the end of the year. It will be a lot less than people think it will be.
Yeah, right now it's focusing on businesses, not personal checks. So.
Yeah, I mean, what Joe Biden had basically been saying is that this is think of this as the down payment to what will come once he gets into office, kind of thing.
We'll see.
But I don't know if that's even true either. So we'll see. But
apparently the Democrats are saying they're not going to support the CR if it doesn't include some stimulus or if stimulus isn't handled separately. And the Republicans aren't going to vote for the stimulus package, but they do want to push through a CR so that because both of them are walking this line that says, is the government shutdown during a pandemic going to be a problem for us more than it is for them, or the other way around? And the same thing happened during Clinton's years, the first major government shutdown we talked about a few years ago when there was another government shutdown. Basically, the Republicans in Congress said that we're going to make the president look terrible. And instead, they looked very petty, and it blew up in their faces. The second or third time, the Democrats did the same thing, where they were just like, we're going to make the president look terrible by shutting down the government because he won't make a deal with us. And the Democrats looked bad. And that's just kind of, you never know. Who's going to look worse? Trump's going to look bad no matter what, because he's also probably going to go to Mar-a-Lago and not come back ever.
Yeah, that's been discussed too.
So, but thankfully, our days of talking about Trump, the president, are nearly over. 6 weeks to go. 6 weeks to go before we can stop talking about that.
Can't come soon enough.
I know. But you know what? The one thing we're never going to probably be able to stop talking about, Corey?
What's that?
Sports ball. Oh, you mother... Okay, so apparently the drop isn't working. But sports ball.
We always forget about this up until the moment that you click sports ball.
Because it worked last week, and I assumed it would work again, but apparently not. So...
Don't worry, I'll cut this so the people who are watching on the podcast don't even know the difference. Ready? Yeah, sports ball. Anyway.
So I'm going to let Corey talk because, as he mentioned earlier, I've been off social media for the last 7 days. It has been the most freeing experience of my life. And also, I have never felt more like a drug addict than I do during these 7 days. Even in the periods of my life when I was a drug addict, it doesn't feel as much like it as I do now. Like picking up my phone and absentmindedly hitting the space on the home screen where my social folder was, and then like hitting it multiple times and like seeing out of the corner of my eye the screen not change, and then being like angry and looking at it and being like, oh, that's right, I moved it so I wouldn't do this absent-minded checking social media thing. That's drug addict behavior. That's like
Yeah.
me cutting up an aspirin on the counter. Like, it's all right, baby. I just gotta get the feeling. I don't really need the drug. I just need the feeling, man. Anyway,
Just anything on my nose will do.
this is sports ball.
It's exactly the way sports ball should start.
Now we don't have sponsors. Jesus Christ.
Chevy, baby.
This sports ball segment brought to you by FanDuel. You know what else will make you feel like a real addict? FanDuel.com. Anyway.
I'm sure they'd love that. So yes, after all the games that have happened so far this week in the NFL, we are left with one remaining game tomorrow, Tuesday Night Football. We have the Ravens and the Cowboys to finish off the week. And looking at the standings, looking at how things are going right now, I am of the belief, personally, that the Ravens have to win out for the rest of the season to guarantee them a spot in the playoffs. And that doesn't even necessarily guarantee them a spot in the playoffs, but I think it puts them in the best position to guarantee themselves a spot. It is just not, there is no room for error right now. And the only really challenging game we have from this point on is the Browns, who are next week, I believe, next week on Monday Night Football.
What is 2020?
So,
what is 2020?
yeah. For the first time in 18 years, the Browns are looking like they'll make the playoffs. So there's that.
Steelers were unbeaten until this week. Oh my god.
Yeah, and then they lost to a football team. Can you believe it?
Wait, a semi-professional football team?
A
Something
real semi-professional football team. They got uniforms and everything. I'm holding out hope that the Ravens last week, they looked competitive, even though it was mostly practice squad people, like third stringers who were playing against the Steelers. But they really kept it competitive, and I was proud of them. And RG3 is on injured reserve because he can't play a full game. We should have factored this in when we made RG3 our backup. But I was proud of how they played, even though they lost. I was expecting them to lose, so that wasn't too far out of left field. I'm most worried now about just them walking into some game thinking that they got it and then getting surprised by some team. Tomorrow in Dallas is one of those days where I'm just like, I'm super concerned that Dallas is going to come ready to play. They gotta leave it all out on the field. They're falling back in their division race. They only have 3 wins, but that's still
who's
good
leading?
enough to
Who's
put
leading?
them close to the lead in the NFC East.
Who's leading that division?
Washington now.
Oh, the semi-professional football club,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Yes, yeah.
Because they're 5-7 or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, I would hope that the Ravens have had that beaten out of them. That like, oh, we just got to show up and we're gonna win. Like, I get that week 1, week 2. I get it. Yeah, we're too far along and you've done too much at this point to have that attitude walking out on the field.
Yeah, there needs to be this is our Super Bowl every week from here on out kind of feelings. And I know it's easy to like look past a team like the Jaguars who we're going to be playing at some point, but
Are we playing
you really
in
got
London?
to.
Is that a London game?
No, they threw out the London games in the pandemic. Thank God.
Oh, thank God.
What's the point of going to London to play in front of no fans when
Well, the Ravens
you
have
play
already
in
lost.
front of no fans at home?
Ravens have already lost 1 game to COVID. Let's hope that they don't. If they had to travel to London, we'd end up losing 3 more. So,
but yeah, holding out hope now for the Ravens to do well tomorrow in Dallas. I especially, I don't know how many other fantasy people out there are holding out hope for some sort of amazing miracle to come forward. I know I am one of those people because I am currently losing by, let's see here, 40 points. So, and my opponent has Tucker, so that number will go up. But yeah, I basically need like a 50-point game from Lamar tomorrow.
oh wow.
Or if for whatever reason Lamar doesn't start, Andy Dalton needs to provide me that 50-point game.
I am winning by 60.
This has been the fucking weirdest final week of the NFL fantasy season in a while too. I think.
Oh, is this the final
it just
week?
feels like Yeah,
Oh,
because next week starts the playoffs. So.
I don't even know if I'm in the playoffs. Probably not.
I mean, if you win and a couple people lose, I think you were right tied up with a bunch of people. So if I lose and Burns loses and you win, then I think you're in.
Oh, all right. So really hoping that you don't get those 40 points in tomorrow. Not that I really care, honestly. It's been that kind of season. But I didn't even change my team for 3 consecutive weeks. I was just like, it's fine. Let it roll.
And there's not really anything too serious left here in sports ball, but I figured I would just throw them out here because people were talking about it. The Jets, Greg Williams going out there with the 0 blitz at the end of that game. One of the most unbelievable, weird pieces of strategy I've ever seen. People all over the place are on the conspiracy theory that play was called so that the Jets would lose the game and get the number 1 overall pick. Rob, what say you? Do you think that a defensive coordinator would would put in a awful play call at the end of a game to lose for the number 1 pick?
Well, I compare it
considering he got fired today.
I compare it to if you have the number 1 running back, possibly in the history of the game, or they think so at that point, and the Super Bowl is on the line. What play do you run? Any running play. Any running play.
Give it to beast mode, I guess, is what I'm.
Give it to. And by the way, did you see the Thanksgiving video of beast mode from when he was on the Seahawks?
No. Oh, when he talked to Richard Sherman, and he's just like,
no, I'm going.
Give him back to my community.
Yeah, but he's like, Christmas, man. I didn't think about Christmas. I got to get through Thanksgiving. I'm going home. I'm going to give out turkeys in my neighborhood. I'm like, yo, how much money can I give Marshawn Lynch to just become, I don't know, a mayor of a city or something? Like, I know that man. He is the real deal. He would change shit. But anyway.
My favorite part about Marshawn Lynch is literally anytime you put him in some sort of situation, he just like excels at it. Yeah. Like I remember he was in like a kickball game. Or it's like he had a charity kickball game. And like you look at him and he's just like, he looks like a fucking Cadillac or something like that. He's too big to be like a real person. And you're just like, there's no way this guy is going to be able to kick that ball.
Boom.
In a compelling way. And he hits it and it nearly goes to the moon. Like
he hit a child in the outfield and that child is now dead. That was COVID.
There was another one. He did a show on like Facebook or something like that for a little while. And I think he had like some sort of box jump that he did where it was just like, 6.5 feet worth of box jump, I think. And I was just like, no way. Like, he's an athlete. Yeah, sure. But like, you're talking about
you're jumping your height.
Leaping your height and landing flat on your feet. And it was just like, he did it. I was like, oh my God, I'm never doubt this man.
Yes. Never doubt Marshawn Lynch. But
unless you're Pete Carroll.
But I was going to say, unless you're Pete Carroll, because the answer to that riddle is that Pete Carroll decided to throw an out route to the slot receiver, which got batted down and they lost the Super Bowl.
Picked.
Was it picked? Oh, it was picked. That's right. Picked.
Yeah. Malcolm Jennings picked it.
So, it really comes down to you end up being the villain or a genius. Because if that play had worked, you could have argued, listen, I knew they were going to stuff Marshawn. I mean, he's a great athlete, but you put 10 men in the box, and there's nothing.
I mean, everyone knew it was a running play. Yeah. How could it not be a running play?
Yeah. And much like that, you wouldn't think that with 15, 20 seconds left on the clock, they're clearly going to throw a Hail Mary, that the house blitz is the thing to run. But if they had sacked him and that had been the last play of the game and they'd shut it down, then you look like a genius because you didn't even give him the chance to put it up and see what happens. Just brought the house, sacked him, game over.
Yeah.
But much like Pete Carroll, although Pete Carroll was kind of fireproof because, Pete Carroll.
Well, he made it. He made that mistake in the Super Bowl. That helps. It's easy enough. Listen, when you're in the Super Bowl and you make a questionable call, like, at least you made it.
Yes.
You were in the position to possibly win this thing. It didn't work out. Everyone's real upset, but you were right there. That's what you play for. The Jets are a winless
12?
team. No, they haven't won a game.
Okay.
Yeah, they're winless. They had a chance to win a game.
Yeah.
They had a chance for 1 week where none of these players would have reporters come up going like, "Hey, do you think you're going to not win a game all season?" These are all professionals who want to be treated like professionals, and none of them like the idea of being on a joke team like the Jets. And
here we are. I think in the end, that was it. It was like, I'm going to be a genius. When they pull this sack out and they put it down, I'm going to be a genius. And then as the ball is flying through the air, he just watches his career go away. He's like, I'm getting fired tomorrow. Especially because it was like bring the house, man coverage on the outside, and the guy just got outrun, and he just put the ball up in the air and just like run underneath and catch it. It wasn't like one of those.
The problem is the play right before that. They almost threw a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Like it was just a little bit overthrown, but like
he's like, got the distance now. Here we go.
There was a receiver on the other side of the secondary, like towards the goal line. Like if the ball had connected, it would have been a touchdown there too.
Yeah.
So how are you not running plays that have like at least one guy just standing in the end zone?
Because he did the math. He was like, I only blitzed 6 on that last play. If I bring the house, we're gonna get this.
If I bring 7, I got it. There's no way they don't have anything they can do to defend 7 guys running at them.
Oh, there. Yeah, I'm gonna get fired. Yep.
Oh wait, there it is. The same thing goes with the Chargers though, because Anthony Lynn has just been on the hot seat, especially in LA. Like the 4 Charger fans that I see on Twitter all the time, they are not happy with Anthony Lynn. And you would think that you're like waking up in the morning and you're just like, all right, we're playing the Patriots. They're not a great team, but they're definitely a good team.
Cam Newton
can't take them lightly.
Cam Newton was playing.
Yep. And you're just like, you got to take them seriously. This is an opportunity to show we're not as bad of a team as we are. We can beat the Patriots, and we can get a little bit of momentum here. And then you get blown out 45-0. And I don't understand how. Did you ever have a job where you just had that fuck it attitude after a while? You're just like, I don't care if I get fired. Like
me? No, never.
No. Well, put yourself in that position, because I think that's what Anthony Lynn's doing right now.
Yeah,
I think he's like, I'm not going to be a head coach forever, so I might as well just do it the way I feel it.
Quarterback's in the huddle listening, and then he's just on the outside like 1843-74 wing Y7, and then quarterback's like, that's not a play. He's not calling the plays. He's just saying gibberish into the mic. All right, let's call it the line. Here we go.
Wouldn't it be funny? You're just like, you put your hands up to the helmet, you're trying to listen because of all the crowd noise, and you just hear Anthony Lynn on the other side going like, I don't know, you want to just run it? And then it just cuts out, and you're just like,
what was that? You call time, you go over to the sidelines. He's like, was that unclear?
You just look at Eckler, you're just like, do you want to run it? It's like looking at everybody on the team, just like, I guess we're gonna go left. I don't know.
It's every pickup game you've ever played where you get back in the huddle and you're like, all right, who wants the ball this time?
Street yard football.
All right, so
you're walking up to your huddle, like you get the play, you're just like, that doesn't help me. You do it out route, you do a post, you do a comeback.
I'm gonna throw to you on the comeback.
You block that guy, and then you move off of him, and then I'll hit you in the flat.
But by the way, you call who you're throwing to in the huddle. You're just like, all right, listen, I don't know what's gonna happen here, but you're gonna hit that block and then bounce right. I'm gonna hit you with the ball, so get ready for it.
Keenan, be ready.
He's just pulling everybody out. He's just gonna go do the post route, take the secondary out of here. I'm coming to you. I'm not even gonna look at him. Get ready. Here we go.
I think the only other thing that's worse than having a coach so terrible is to just have all your best players taken from you, as opposed to
Philip Rivers left. I mean, you know.
No, well, I'm moving over to the Orioles here for a second.
Yes.
Just in the
Jets
last week
of baseball, if you will. Yes.
Just in the last week since we last spoke, our leader in home runs has gone for has been designated for assignment. Our batting average leader was designated for assignment. And one of the 3 best players of our season last year, somebody who was on a very affordable contract at a shortstop position, Jose Iglesias, was traded last week. So the Orioles have given up 3 players who figured prominently on their stat sheet all year last year, and for the last couple years here, with the exception of Iglesias, but a fond farewell to Renato Nunez, Hanser Alberto, and Jose Iglesias. I don't exactly understand what the Orioles' plan is here.
Unless it's a rebuilding year, Corey. It's a rebuilding year.
But I mean, like,
rebuilding decade, Corey. And
don't you want to have some people who like can hit in the meantime? Like,
I did not know who those people were, nor that they were on the team, nor how well they did this year. So
we've done this thing before where we're just like, I mean, like, you know, we're not going to be good yet, so let's just put Jeff Fiorentino there in left field. And then you're just like, why is he hitting 083? Oh, that's right. He's not very good at baseball. It's like, oh, how much we yearn for the days where we could have a 250 hitter on this club. And then you're letting Hanser Alberto go, hitting 300.
Wait.
I mean, it's a lot of singles, but I mean, like.
It could be worse. We could have given him like a $60 million contract and then kept him for the next decade.
I mean, I guess that's true. We could have thought too highly of them and let them run roughshod all over us. But,
yes. Yeah.
I guess that's the way it is.
By the way, was that two Chris Davis references in one episode? Oh, you guys. How good you are this week.
Well, I think if you go through the archives, you'll find a lot more. You're going to have to take your Adderall to do it. But you know where you can go for that?
Too
much of a stretch? Too many moving pieces there? Is that what that was?
Where's that, Corey?
OhTheAnthem.com. Corey to theanthem.com. Oh, the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I will have a Mank review up very shortly.
Ooh.
And I also was filming a little something last night, so I hope to have that up shortly as well. And a lot of stoves on the oven, so pay attention this week because things will be happening.
Wait. I was getting prepared for my part. A lot of stoves on the oven?
A lot of pots on the. Now I'm got all confused because I was going to say oven again. I'm like, no, you don't put pots on the oven. You put pots on the stove.
Yeah,
a lot of pots on the stove.
Yeah, there we go.
With right now. There we go.
Mixing those metaphors. That's amazing.
I mean, it wouldn't be an Oh the Anthem podcast without some mixed metaphors.
And of course, you can find me on social media at Robert N. Cheek, although I won't find myself there for the next month. You can find more information at robertandcheek.com. We have wrapped up a lot of stuff leading to the end of the year, but new stuff is coming. New screenplays are getting written, books are getting written, working on a bunch of stuff. So that's all coming in 2021. If we make it that far. I mean, who's to say? As I said, stupid or selfish. And Corey is convinced that we're going to have a vaccine and everything's going to be back to normal by fourth quarter next year. And I think next year is when we get the pandemic that really ends it all. And it's giving me hope. This is something I wanted to say earlier and I forgot. This pandemic has given me hope. Because if we get one that really kills a lot of people, the one thing that this pandemic has really has me upset about is I enjoy the isolation. I enjoy being by myself. But the only thing that the pandemic has really driven home to me is that I just got to get rid of all the rest of these annoying people. And when I do that, I will really enjoy the rest of my life. I have a whole skill set that's waiting to be used. So by next fall, when the next virus comes out, and this one has a really high mortality rate, and all these people are like, no, I've played this game before. I'm going to my New Year's party no matter what. And then they all get it, and they all die. Then I can finally have the world I've always wanted, where it's just me and all my books, and I have all the time to... No, there was time now!
My glasses.
Sorry guys, that was a really old Twilight Zone reference.
I like the reference. I got it. I was there for the whole thing. I was actually going to jump in with the same thing until
you gotta be quick on the trigger.
Great minds. Well, I didn't want to interrupt you. It's tough with the latency of the online shows here.
Yeah.
Where it's like I feel like I keep saying things and then I'm cutting you off and then I'm like, oh, you go.
Every Zoom call you better bring on. Well, tell patient Sarah if he can get another clean test. And next week maybe we'll be back live and in studio. I'm getting tested this week. He should go get tested.
Assuming Garcetti doesn't shut down the live podcasting part of the essential work.
No, as we know, it's essential work. We have to be allowed to do it. What I'm concerned about is that patient Sarah over there gets both a COVID test and just general testing for everything, being that he spent so much time in Mexico. Just saying. Wait, is that the Ayn Rand coming out again?
Get an oil change or something like that.
I mean, probably. I would say. I don't know about his girl, but I would want to be trading fluids with them right now. I'm just putting it out there.
Get all your fluids wienerized. Well, I think we've done good here today.
On that note, thank God we don't have sponsors, because I can just imagine somebody like listening through the show and being like, "No, pull the money." pull the mic. There was some reference there at the end that I didn't get, but it made me uncomfortable. I'm going to have to just tell you. We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the OD Anthem podcast, part of the OD Anthem Digital Network. For Corey, I'm going to get this one day. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.